Hi, welcome back. Today I will be doing my next video on chapter 5. Now, chapter 5 is based on the focus group dilemma, the case of the compromised tagline. Now, within this story of chapter 5, the author used two characters, Gilbert, who is the vice president boss, who is taking over the tagline for a new business and their new, how do you say it? And their new marketing process to figure out, or their new marketing research to figure out what will work best for their audience when it comes to another promotion or another communication aspects for the company. Now, Shelby, she is the new worker who is under Gilbert, the boss, who will be helping kind of figure out the taglines. But as you see, as I explain this chapter, it kind of has a dilemma of where Shelby is torn between trying to address a situation from somebody, or trying to address a situation of somebody who is of higher up or higher position than she is, and like how do you address it without making it such, not even such a big deal, but how do you address it properly? Because for somebody higher up, it's hard to go against somebody, especially their boss, because you don't want the possibility of it backfiring on you, to realize that that if you do tell the corporation about this boss, it may not work out in your favor, you may get fired. So some things have to be, so you have to really think of the different aspects of how this all works out and what you can do to kind of put it together. Now, for Shelby's case, Gilbert was manipulating the focus group research for the nonprofits, for a nonprofit organization they were both working for. Now, for Gilbert, she was manipulating the focus group research in her, she was manipulating the research to where the research would be in favor for her tagline, even though that's not what the company agreed on, even though that's also not what the focus groups want. Now, for Shelby, was in the Shelby was in the middle of working when she had overheard Gilbert asking for the next focus group to be more accepting of Gilbert's tagline than what the company had already approved of and what the company had agreed upon. Even though the company had already agreed on this kind of tagline and this, even though they did agree on the tagline and they did go for a notion to make sure that this is what they're going to use for the focus groups and this type of research they want, Gilbert flipped it over to where it wasn't about the company's tagline. She had an idea for it and she wanted people to go for it, even though it may not be good for the company. Now, being that she was the vice president at the time, no employees under her, including Shelby, wanted to address the situation, even though they knew that it was not right for the company, or not right in the situation at all for somebody of higher positions to be doing. She wants to figure out how to address the situation when it's your boss or someone who is above your working class, and how can you address the situation without causing the least amount of issues, because being that you are a co-worker trying to address a boss or a higher position person, you kind of have fear of retaliations, and actions begin to seem impossible, because it's like, how do you tell on somebody that's already above you and somebody you already go to with complaints when it comes to this people in the same category as work as you? But since this is a vice president, it's kind of more difficult, because you have to realize whether if it's worth it to see if, even though what she was doing was not right, is it worth it kind of to address the situation of possibly losing your job, or is it worth more to make sure that the company is still going for what they said, is making sure that the company is not in jeopardy from this one person's mistake. And even though Shelby has been talking to other coworkers as well and trying to get more insights on what she should do, not a lot of people know what to do in that situation either, because when Shelby was trying to look for confirmation from her co-workers, they kind of just let it happen. They didn't want to do anything to make it change because they also had the same fear. Now that but I do want to put myself in Shelby's shoes, and I can't say that I would go a completely different route, because that is definitely, in my point of view, a very scary predicament to be in. Even though I know that my boss is doing wrong and I want to make sure that the company is not in jeopardy through her one action, I am still in more jeopardy or in more risk of losing my job than the vice president. And then also thinking of it, it was more of what evidence did I have to provide for the human resources to say that what my point is proven and what is to be true. And even though it was very very to the point, and also it was kind of hard to decide which way to go, because yes, even though nobody else was kind of talking about it or addressing the situation, they still saw that it was wrong. And yes, that even though I could go to address the situation about it, I can't say that they will have my back and agree with me on this situation as well. Now, what would I think have happened if I told someone? I believe that it will possibly be an investigation underway, at least to where they would say, they would address that they heard my situation and they heard my complaint and they heard my concerns, and they would look into it and possibly maybe work out in my favor, to where they saw that even though this is not my physical evidence, after all, there is still some form of way to prove that, you know, what I've been said has been going on. What other options could I have taken? I don't really know. I think the only other option I would probably take is just addressing the situation a lot sooner, since I realized that it's been a lot of complications with the research, and I see that the research is not really benefiting the company, but it's really hurting it. And it puts us at risk, because that is also my job. So in order to save my job, I would try my best to address it, to make sure that, you know, even if it's something that could possibly be from my mind or could possibly be what I could think of, I want to make sure that I'm correct on that part and actually get a second point of view on it from somebody else that works there, but also maybe a higher, not like vice president, but somebody like a manager or advisor who can possibly look over it and give me a second opinion too, just so I can have something to fall back on. Now, I looked at the qualitative research and I was not surprised by it. Honestly, it was more of making sure that your qualitative research is based on the quality that you have received from that research. It is not manipulated in any kind of way. It is to the T and exact point, so that way your research can be understood more in depth and more, and actually better when it comes to a wide group. Being that this is going to be used for a marketing strategy, you want to make sure that everybody is using this information the best of their ability, so that way the company can get the right kind of marketing strategy and marketing strategy, so that way whenever they do decide to promote or do whatever they please for their nonprofit organization, it's going to be for the audience and not just for the company. You know? What provisions would be useful to Shelby? What would have been useful was that the guidelines, the qualitative research guidelines, address that the client should not either alter a consultant's report either for internal and external distribution without the consultant's express consent, or without providing an opportunity for the consultant to disclaim authorship. And if Shelby would have addressed this to the higher authorities, she could have also addressed to Gilbert that what she has been doing went against professional standards. Because what apparently Gilbert was doing for her was, even though she also manipulated the group to be in favor of her tagline. She also withheld the information of that research from her party, from the group. Like, nobody, including Shelby, was unaware of what research tactics were received from these focus groups, and what rebranding tactic would be best according to the audience favor. It wasn't more for the audience, it was more for the vice president, who was in charge of that at the time and just wanted her point to be out there. I guess in my point, and from what I understood, I thought she wanted to do that just so she could say that she had created the tagline, you know, take more of the credit for it, especially if it was in favor for the community, not community, the nonprofit organization, and they will be able to basically praise her for her accomplishment and not praise the company, if that makes sense. Now, what I thought was a very interesting question was, would it be more or less effective to do the focus group in person or virtual? And with virtual focus groups, is it easier to manipulate or not? I feel like, in a sense, a virtual focus group could possibly be more effective if used in the correct way. Because yes, technology can get manipulated in any kind of ways, but I feel like if you have a way to record it, prove your point, make sure that your information is correctly written and illustrated to where it proves your point, definitely. I feel like a virtual focus group could be more easier, especially you can get more people out because you're able to do it more on a nationwide basis. And I feel like you are able to get your results a lot faster than it is in person, than opposed to people just kind of showing it and speaking about it, or, you know, maybe finding the time to figure out when would this be a good time to actually get the research in. I also feel like it's not as easy to manipulate a virtual focus group, just because, in a sense, all virtual, in my sense, I feel like the virtual focus group will be recorded, and it would be really hard to manipulate a recording, in a sense, especially if you're not allowed to get your hands on it. Also, because I feel like that will also allow certain people to see these focus groups, and it will keep people like Gilbert out the way from trying to get more results in their favor, instead of thinking about what the organization needs in order to grow and make sure they promote themselves in a really healthy way for audience, and that way the organization can grow itself. And within the book, they said to choose your own focus group and share your experience with the technology. I chose a social media focus group, and that really opened my eyes to how people use social media and what they think their purpose is for social media. Even though I use it for personally kind of fun, you know, something that's just entertaining when I'm bored, other people actually use it for work. Some people actually use it for research. Other people use it for many different things that I could not even really fathom, nor that I could comprehend, because I could not see it in that way. So it opened my eyes to a whole new side of what people think of certain identities or certain objects. Like, because there was something about food, it was something about certain marketing plans, it was so many out there that it's amazing. And hearing other people's thoughts and ideas on the situation really can make your mind more open and more, and you're able to see what type of things that people can use it for, and maybe you can learn to use it for yourself one day. Now, how I became more ethical in this chapter, I believe I became more ethical because I was able to understand Shelby's points and where she was coming from. And I know that if I were to be in any kind of situation like this, I know that even though I would like to think of the person and make sure, I would like to see the good in people and not believe that somebody would do something to manipulate a focus group just to get a personal rise out of it, I would address the situation as so, but I will also make sure that my points are supported before I do that. I will do more research, because I feel like Shelby, if she kind of focused more about it and did For Shelby, I feel like if she focused more about it and really did her research, she could have found a way to kind of address the situation, keep her job, and keep the people that she likes, and not have to move on to another job because it could have been in jeopardy. While yes, it was not in her position to really care, nor was it in anybody else's position. You kind of just do your job and do as you please. But I feel like to keep the integrity and the fun in your job, you want to make sure that it's done in the correct way, in a way that you feel proud of doing it. You don't want to take credit for something you're not proud of, or something you don't really want to associate yourself with, and that's not okay. So I do hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you.